Remember when every Sunday after church, families walked through cemetery gates carrying fresh flowers? In 1955, visiting graves was sacred duty. Children learned where great-grandparents rested, heard their stories, understood their place in an unbroken chain. Today, most people can't even find their grandparents' graves, and cemeteries overflow with forgotten stones nobody visits. But that's not even the saddest part. Wait until you hear what happens when we stop honoring our dead. Sunday afternoon, 1955. Church services ended, and families across America began their second sacred ritual of the day. Mothers wrapped flowers from their gardens in damp newspaper. Fathers loaded gardening tools into car trunks. Children, still in their church clothes, knew the routine. Cemetery visits weren't optional, they were essential. The cemetery gates stood open, welcoming the weekly pilgrimage. Families walked familiar paths to family plots, some purchased generations ago. These weren't hurried visits, but leisurely afternoons among the departed. Grandmothers directed operations, while fathers trimmed grass around headstones. Mothers arranged flowers in permanent vases, replaced water, removed dead blooms from last week. Children pulled weeds, learning which graves belonged to which relatives, absorbing stories with the sunshine. But these visits were about more than maintenance. The cemetery served as outdoor classroom for family history. Standing before weathered stones, elders shared memories. This great-aunt survived the flu pandemic. That uncle built the first school. These tiny stones marked children lost to scarlet fever. Every grave had a story, every story had a lesson. Families maintained not just individual graves, but entire sections. 4 generations might rest in one plot, with space reserved for the living. This continuity provided comfort, knowing where you'd rest, who'd surround you, that someone would tend your grave as you tended others. The work was meditation, hands busy with flowers and weeds while minds processed life, death, continuity. Problems seemed smaller beside eternal rest. Perspectives shifted, arguments dissolved. What mattered became clear among the stones. Sunday dinners often followed cemetery visits. Death and life intertwined naturally. Children grew up comfortable with mortality, understanding it as transition, not termination. They knew where they came from and where they'd return. The cemetery itself was community crossroads. Neighbors met among graves, sharing news while tending nearby plots. The banker's family plot neighbored the baker's. Death equalized what life stratified. Conversations flowed naturally. Births announced near grandparents' graves. Engagements shared where couples would someday rest. Memorial Day and Decoration Day brought entire communities together. Every grave received flowers, even those without living relatives. Veteran stones got special attention. Children placed flags while learning about service, sacrifice, and honor. These community gatherings reinforced collective memory. Small-town cemeteries held the town's entire history. Walking through was reading centuries of stories, founding families, tragic accidents, epidemics survived, wars fought. Teachers brought classes to learn local history from headstones. The rituals around death maintained connection. When someone died, the community responded predictably. Graves were dug by local men who knew the deceased. Funerals filled churches. Burial processions stopped traffic as entire towns paid respects. Everyone knew where the new grave was, who'd joined the eternal community. Anniversary visits marked death dates. Families gathered at graves on birthdays, holidays, milestones. Weddings photos taken at grandparents' graves. New babies introduced to ancestors they'd never meet but would always know. Christmas saw evergreen wreaths on every stone. Easter brought spring flowers. Mother's Day and Father's Day meant especially full cemeteries as grown children honored parents' memories. No grave stood forgotten. If families moved or died out, neighbors adopted graves. Churches maintained lists of who rested where. Historical societies preserved records. The dead remained part of the living community. Now let's see what replaced this sacred ritual. Fast forward to today. Most Americans visit cemeteries twice in their lives, to bury parents and to be buried themselves. The weekly visit, extinct. The family plot, scattered across states as families dispersed. The stories, dying with the last generation that heard them. Modern life leaves no time for dead. Sunday means youth sports, shopping, catching up on work. Who drives to cemeteries when everything else demands attention? Besides, which cemetery? Grandparents in Florida, parents in Ohio, siblings discussing spreading ashes somewhere meaningful someday. Families fragment in death as in life. Those who try visiting find chaos. Cemeteries covering hundreds of acres with no maps. Office closed weekends. Records computerized but passwords lost. Graves somewhere in Section J, row 47, but where's that? GPS doesn't work among headstones. Walking acres searching for familiar names, finding strangers instead. The abandonment is visible everywhere. Headstones sink into earth, unreadable. Plastic flowers, faded and broken, mark last visits years ago. Vases empty, cracked, stolen. Grass grows over flat markers until they disappear entirely. Older sections become archaeological sites, names worn away, dates illegible, stories lost forever. Cemeteries, struggling financially, reduce maintenance. Mowing happens monthly, if that. Trees drop branches on stones. Weather erodes engravings. Nobody notices because nobody visits. When damage is discovered, families can't be located. The perpetual care paid for in 1955? That cemetery company went bankrupt. 3 ownership changes later, nobody honors old contracts. Modern graves reflect modern values. Flat markers for easy mowing. No elaborate headstones telling stories. Just names, dates, maybe beloved if there's space. Efficiency over memory. Even finding burial space proves difficult. Urban cemeteries filled decades ago. New ones locate far from communities. The dead are warehoused remotely, visited rarely. Cremation changed everything. Today, most choose cremation. Cheaper, simpler, requiring no permanent space. Ashes sit in closets, get scattered in parks, divide among children who argue over portions. No central location for remembrance, no grave to visit, no physical presence confirming existence. Children grow up never visiting graves because there are none. Death becomes abstract concept, not concrete reality. They don't know where ancestors rest, can't process grief through grave tending, lack physical places for remembrance. The comfort of continuity vanishes. Digital memorials proliferate, Facebook pages for the deceased, online guest books, virtual cemeteries. But websites vanish, passwords get lost, companies fold. Digital death proves more transient than physical graves. Genealogists despair. Gravestone inscriptions once provided vital records, births, deaths, relationships. Now, nothing. Future generations will find no physical evidence of our existence. We're the first culture actively erasing our presence. Some families try maintaining traditions. Dedicated descendants still visit, bringing children who'd rather be anywhere else. They find cemeteries unwelcoming. No benches, no water, gates locked at sunset. Neighbors look suspicious at grave visitors. What are you doing there? As if honoring dead became deviant behavior. They discover graves vandalized, headstones toppled by bored teenagers, bronze markers stolen for scrap, drug deals in mausoleums. Cemeteries became dangerous places avoided by decent people. The peaceful garden where families gathered became urban wasteland. Older people wanting to visit can't navigate vast modern cemeteries. No shade, no seating, no assistance. They stand briefly, place store-bought flowers, leave exhausted. The meditation and connection impossible in hostile environments. Even finding flowers proves difficult. Gardens rare in modern yards. Florists expensive. Gas station carnations replace roses grown with love. The personal touch disappears with everything else. What we really lost transcends grave maintenance. We lost tangible connection to ancestry. Standing where ancestors stood, touching stones they touched, maintaining what they maintained, this created physical links across time. Now, ancestry is DNA percentages, not places and stories. We lost comfort with mortality. Regular grave visits normalized death as life's chapter, not ending. Children learned everyone dies, everyone gets remembered, everyone continues in memory. Now, death terrifies because it means obliteration. We lost community cohesion. Cemeteries where everyone rested together reinforced belonging. Rich and poor, saint and sinner, equal in death. Now we scatter in death as in life, belonging nowhere. We lost family stories. Graveside storytelling transmitted history, values, connections. Now, nobody knows why they're named after someone, what ancestors accomplished, how families survived. Most profoundly, we lost the understanding that honoring the dead honors the living, that tending graves tends our souls, that remembering where we came from guides where we're going. The larger implications haunt us. Cultures that forget their dead lose their way. Without ancestral wisdom, we make old mistakes. Without death's reminder, we waste life. Without graves to tend, we neglect roots that nourish. Young people feel disconnected because they are, from place, history, continuity. They create new identities because inherited ones weren't transmitted. They fear death because they've never processed it through healthy ritual. Mental health crisis partially stems from existential rootlessness. Who am I? Where do I belong? What's my purpose? Graves once answered these questions. Now therapists struggle with what tradition provided freely. Environmental destruction connects to this disconnection. Why preserve places for future generations when we don't even preserve graves? Why care about legacy when nobody will remember? Short-term thinking dominates because long-term connections broke. Can we reclaim this sacred duty? Some communities organize cemetery restoration days. Volunteers clean abandoned graves, research forgotten names, restore dignity to neglected dead. These efforts matter but can't replace family commitment. Some families create new traditions, annual gatherings at graves, digital maps sharing locations, stories recorded before elders die. But swimming against cultural current exhausts even dedicated descendants. The infrastructure supporting cemetery visits collapsed, families scattered, Sundays scheduled, gardens paved, communities fragmented. Rebuilding requires more than individual effort. Here's what those 1955 cemetery visits really meant. They meant you mattered beyond your lifespan, that someone would remember, visit, tell your story, that death didn't erase existence. They meant children learned their place in time's river, not isolated individuals, but links in eternal chains, connected backward and forward through physical presence at physical places. They meant communities stayed whole through generations. The dead remained citizens, referenced in decisions, honored in memory. Their graves were contracts. We'll tend yours as you tended ours. Today's forgotten graves break that contract. Millions rest unvisited, unnamed, unknown. Their stones sink, their stories vanish, their existence erases. And we wonder why we feel so alone. The answer lies in cemeteries we don't visit, among graves we don't tend, with ancestors we don't remember. Every forgotten grave forgets a piece of ourselves. Every unvisited cemetery abandons community continuity. Every untold story breaks chains that bound generations. The flowers that once bloomed on graves each Sunday weren't just honoring the dead. They were keeping the living rooted, connected, and whole. Now we drift, untethered from earth that holds our history, forgetting that remembering the dead keeps us fully alive. Somewhere, headstones sink into earth while descendants shop or scroll or chase what won't matter when they too rest forgotten. The cemetery gates stand open, but nobody comes. The dead wait patiently, as they always have, for the living to remember that honoring those who came before honors those who come after. But patience, even eternal patience, can't restore what indifference destroys. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.